Well, good evening, lads and lasses. It is yet another Monday. Hopefully, everybody had a fantastic weekend. It is CFN Live. Thanks, Dean, for showing up, spending some time, and of course, all of your support. Lloyd, you as well. Bob, always a pleasure to see you, man. Thanks again for showing up at the CISA event. Really appreciated seeing you there as well. It was just perfect timing too, to say the absolute least. It's going to be an interesting show. Probably going to be a short show. Unfortunately, we don't have Jim tonight, and we want to wish Jim well because I know where he's at right now, and he's in his happy place, and deservedly so. Deservedly so. I if anything, I don't want to say I gave him the night off, but I think he should take the night off. Life is definitely getting busy for all of us, including our good buddy, and I'm hoping he's enjoying himself right now out back hooking a hog or three. How we doing, Tony? Nice to see you as well. But we do have Lawrence and we do have Jay. We do have a little bit to get to in terms of announcements. So I will do that right now and get it over with so that we can move on with the rest of our show. As I said, hopefully everybody had a great weekend. It was not the greatest weekend weather-wise, but I'll tell you, Mother Nature is certainly redeeming herself this weekend. So if you have an opportunity to get out fishing, please do, because I don't know how many more of these great weekends we're going to have left. I do want to start with something, and I do have a bit of an announcement. I'm really happy and excited to share this because those who participate in our CFN Fish Off and, of course, attend all of our retreats, we always do a mini fish off, and we never seem to have a perfect measuring system. We rely on the lodges and the taped measuring sticks that they have at the on the side of the boat or on the seat or what have you. But I'm happy and proud and excited to announce that CFN now has an official bump board, courtesy of the good folks. And you can't see it, unfortunately, so I will post it at Go Large Fish Ruler. I was presented this today by our good friend Randy. Randy and Ron put this together. It has our CFN logo on it. Hopefully you can see it. As you can see, the numbers are see-through, so they'll work in just about any situation. They are accurate. We have tested it. We've measured it to make sure that it is. And these will soon become available. They are not available right now because they are not uploaded on the webpage. All those who have asked about these, thank you so much for showing an interest. There are a bunch of models to choose from. I will leave this up during the whole time. You can email them if you want to purchase one. You can email them because, as I say, it's not available on the website, and they will certainly help you out. But I'm hoping these in the very near future will be mass produced. This is the 36-inch. Not sure why I chose this, but I do know that I chose it for our good buddy Mike Consul, who's going to be with us up at Camp Mac in a couple weekends. But to give you an idea of what's available, there are 3 sizes available. And I will say this, this came from Randy. As I mentioned, rulers are not on the webpage yet because we can't calculate shipping costs accurately. So if you want to order a ruler, send them an email. As I said, there's the email. And they'll work with you to meet up for delivery or to provide you with the cost of shipping before we buy the ruler and pay. This is the fairest way to make sure you know the total cost before you order and pay. We could certainly help out, Randy and Ron. We could help out with the shipping with our good buddy Brad from Pal Casting. So if there's a will, there's a way, and we can certainly do our best to try and keep shipping costs down to the bare minimum. So this was the 36-inch. They have a 24-inch that has the CFN logo on it. It is worth $40. This 36-inch that I'm holding up right now is worth $60. And the 55-inch, which is a lot thicker gauge and a heavier duty measuring tape, it's $100. As I said, I can't thank Randy and Ron for surprising me with this. It was something that I wanted to get done, but unfortunately we're so busy in CFN land that we didn't get the opportunity to get this done, but they went and did it for us. So to the Go Large Fish Ruler folks, Randy and Ron, God bless you. Thank you so much for doing this. They have 0 of these in stock at this time right now with the CFN logo, but we'll place an order as requested. Usually it's 4 to 6 weeks for the logo to be etched out. Once they get in inventory, they have lots of plain 24 inches and 36 inches. But if you want to wait and receive one with the CFN logo, and I know I mentioned this to you guys before, but if you want one with our logo on it, email them. Make sure Ron or Randy take your request and get what you need. But they're happy to help. And on behalf of CFN, myself, and everybody here at CFN, to Randy and Ron from Go Large Fish Ruler, thanks a million. I can't thank you guys enough. So big supporters of what we're doing over here at CFN. And if we can, let's reciprocate and show them our appreciation by buying a few. We will have them most likely at our shows because they typically will show up at our shows as well. So again, if you want one, that's the email. Reach out to Randy and Ron. I'd really appreciate you guys doing so, because going forward, if you have one of these, it is going to be an official bump board, and it helps the judges, because at the end of the day, as anybody who's participating in the Fish Off knows, we have to verify whatever measuring device you're using. And if you have one of those, we know it's good to go. You guys are valid, and you're measuring your fish with something that we condone. So again, thanks again for everything you guys did to get this set up. And if you're interested, please reach out to Ron and Randy at the email I just posted. There it is there again. All right. Fantastic, guys. Thanks so much for that. Moving along, as you know, it is our 10th anniversary, and our good buddy Richard Dunlop is still doing a fantastic job taking orders on the regular for some swag. I love seeing our CFNers dressed up in some incredible garments. Richard, thanks again for all you do for that. And of course, being our 10th anniversary, these jerseys will soon be gone, and it will no longer have the 10th anniversary on it. So these are considered, I guess, a collector's item, if you will. It is one run and done. So once it is done, January 1st comes, and it's the new year, these will no longer be available as you see them currently right now with the 10th anniversary logo on them. That 10th anniversary will be replaced. We will move forward. And as I said, the jersey will just look a little bit differently. So please, by all means, reach out, and we'll try and get you guys in something that I know you'll like. Lots of comments here. Holy smokes. Pete, how you doing tonight? Nice to see you, my friend. Mark Wolf, as always. It is a pleasure. Jeanette, I'm like so excited to hear that you're coming to Camp Mac for our retreat. I'm finally going to meet Dave and Jeanette. This is so exciting. I'm so pumped for this. This is so cool. You're going to love it. You're going to absolutely love it. And we will be getting to that very soon, because it is creeping up quickly. Mark, how you doing, buddy? Yes, absolutely. Wow. And nice. Truly, truly cool. Steve, absolutely no need to apologize. The inbox has been very, very busy, as they reminded me today. So thanks to everybody who is submitting their photos, but just be patient, because as I said, the lads are very, very busy. Yes, Tony, it's not on their site. That's what we just mentioned. It's not available on their site, so you have to email them directly, as I said. And if you want, just go back and watch the first 5 minutes of our live. How you doing, Mike? Always a pleasure to have you along, my friend. I think so too, Mark. I think so too. And at the end of the day, CFN's not making anything on the sale of these. This is just strictly, we want to have as many of these out there as we possibly can. So I'm hoping everybody does their duty and gets one for them for next year. May, how you doing? Always a pleasure to have you. Steve, yes, sir. Nice to have you as well. Jim Fowler's in the house. Holy smokes, we got lots of you. Christian De Silva, what up, brother? How you doing? Yeah, good to see you, my friend. Eric Beeler's you looked awesome in that dress, by the way. I don't know if you made that yourself, or that was pretty cool, Erica. James, how you doing? Always a pleasure to have you as well. I missed. Hold it up. What? Oh, you want to hold me hold it? Okay, I'll hold it up one more time, guys, so you can see it. As I said, this is the official Go Large fish ruler, and that is our wonderful logo on the ruler. It starts at 6 because anybody who has done the fish off before knows that it has to be 8 inches or more to qualify. This is the 36-inch version. There's a 24 and a 55. So again, reach out to our good friends at Go Large Fish Ruler, and they'll help you out. This past weekend, holy smokes. I was up at Matogamy. It was the MFN Fishing Fall Walleye Classic. Was not exactly what I would consider ideal conditions. Perhaps those who maybe like, bad weather. This was right up your alley. This was a grind. They had a pretty good pre-fish, not like at CISA where they were dealing with 7, 8, and 9 foot waves, but this kicked up on Friday. And as you can see, this pretty much lasted all day. It made it very, very difficult for the anglers, made it even more difficult for us volunteers to try and keep the boats off the dock. Because as you can see, the waves are pounding right up against that dock. So you got some expensive boats, and the last thing you wanted was any dock rash. So we did our best, but needless to say, it was a grind. But I desperately want to thank everybody at Matogamy First Nation, all of the volunteers, Jess, Christelle. There's a whole host of characters that really came together and put this event on. And what an ending! What a conclusion! We actually had to change a rule and the method of posting weights simply because they've never had a weight that close. They've never had 2 weights that close. So I'm announcing, they need 8.67 to take first place, when in actual fact, I needed to add a 0.1 to make it official. So the one bag, David Grad comes up. You have Alex and Guillaume up on the hot seat. David Grad comes up with his partner, Steve. They weigh in 0.66. They needed 0.67. It was 8.66. So they lost by 0.1, or sorry, 0.01. And right away, everybody in the audience says, well, if it's a tie, if they needed 0.67 to take the lead, then 0.6 means that it was tied. We had to change that. So in the equation on the Excel document, Christelle actually had to add 0.01 on top of whatever the difference was in order for this happening next time. So it created a little bit of controversy. It was extremely exciting, the ending, simply because you had 2 weights that were 0.01 away from one another. But congratulations to Alex and Guillaume for winning. They managed to take it home. But to David and Steve, holy smokes, guys, you made that probably one of the most exciting events I've been a part of, to see the final weigh-in, simply because the weights were so darn close. It was really, really fun. But yeah, they again, great event. They fed us really well. I probably put on an extra 5 or 10 pounds just because of my time at Matogamy. But it was well worth it. And as I said, it was just great to be a part of what I consider some pretty unique anglers, some pretty unique tournament anglers, where they do support and care for one another. And that's, these days and times, that's rare. And it's always fun to be a part of that. Now, going forward, of course, our tournament's going to be coming up next. Looking forward to having Christelle down with us to help us, because she's certainly done her fair share of tournaments, and we value her input simply because she's done it. She's made her mistakes. She's ironed out the bugs, and she's seen what works and what doesn't work. So it's awesome to have her down there. Again, this will be coming up. The pre-fish actually starts on Saturday. So this coming Saturday, the pre-fish, I have to go through all of the rules for the CFN fish off, because we're going to be using Angler's Atlas as our guide to implement all of the catches and declare a winner. So I'm working feverishly with our good buddy Mike Consul, who is going to be joining me tomorrow for Tourney Tuesday, because we have a whole bunch more prizes to give away for the CFN fish off. So all those who have been listening along, participating. We've got even more stuff to give away tomorrow, and I can't thank the folks at Shimano enough. These guys right up here, hats off to Shimano. God bless you. You have really helped us award and hand out some pretty cool prizes to our community. So thanks for that. And we're going to do that. We're going to do even more tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. Should be really exciting. For those that are coming to our event here at the North Shore, this is where it's going to be held. We do have an expo. I was talking to Bruce Downs from Big Ugly Baits, and of course Adrian from Adrian's Custom Tackle. They're going to be joining us, as well as Brad and Steph. They're going to have Pal Castings, Pal Plastics, Firebrand. There's going to be a lot of interesting and really cool stuff available up there. So if you are up in the area, if you live in Spanish, or you were thinking of taking a trip, by all means, head down to the waterfront at the Spanish Municipal Marina, and catch all the action. We're going to have food. We're going to have fun, fish, and it's just going to be a lot of fun. We're going to absolutely enjoy ourselves doing this. And then right after that, again, I have to remind you, we have our OFC Nation retreat, and it starts on the 24th. So it's the Wednesday that it starts, goes till the 28th. You can come up on Wednesday. You can come up on Friday. Mike is working very, very hard right now to fill cabin 5. That's the only cabin that's wide open. So if you're someone that doesn't necessarily appreciate shared accommodations, cabin 5 is wide open. So please get a hold of Tracy and Andre and make sure you get your butt booked in a bed. And in case you need just a little more to, put you over the edge, take a look at this promo video.
And there's a place that I've dreamed of, where I can free my mind. I hear the sounds of the season and lose all sense of time. Feels like we're in a dream, you know what I mean.
So that's all the information you need to get in touch with Tracy. There's the website, the email, and of course the phone number. If you are interested in joining us the week of the 24th to the 28th, please, we'd love to have you, love to see you, and love to share in some fun, because it's definitely fun. And also, we're going to be awarding either a Stella Stud or a Stella Queen. One is up for grabs at Camp McIntosh. Really looking forward to it. Should be a lot of fun. We've got our good buddy Lawrence Gunther coming up right after a word from our sponsor. The man, the myth, the legend. There he is, Lawrence Gunther. How you doing, Lawrence?
I'm well, buddy. I'm well. You sound busy.
Oh, buddy, I'm telling you, this was the gauntlet of heck that I was worried about. It started with CISA 2 weekends ago.
Yeah,
that was fast paced, lots of action, lots going on, lots of hard work. Didn't get much of a reprieve. Because as you know, the CFN Fish Off wrapped up, and then we're now up in Matagami last weekend. Next weekend, of course, the Spanish tournament starts, and then we wrap everything up at Camp McIntosh for our 4th annual OFC Nation retreat. So yes, very, very busy, but you too, sir, are very busy, and I'm sure you're going to share a few snippets of how busy you are right now.
Well, just usual working here during the week with the team, and then 4 days up, three. Try to get 4 days every week, or at least three, up at the center, working on projects up there, getting things wrapped up there for the winter, and things are coming together, my friend. It's the list is getting shorter. Could it be? Could the to-do list for the new Bluefish Center be getting shorter? I don't know. Maybe I just haven't taken time to add to the list lately, but it seems like it's getting shorter.
Well, needless to say, it's great news, and I know how excited you are to finally open the doors and crack a bottle of champagne on its christening. But this is going to be something with the amount of work that you've put into this research center and everything that it's going to be accessible to for those who visit it.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, hats off to you, man. Fantastic work.
I tell you, we're so lucky. We're so lucky. The property, is just so wonderful. And I was thinking the other day, how I love paddling on a windy day and just hearing the waves lapping up on the shore. And that's my sort of reference point, whether I'm out my little electric boat or my kayak or whatever. I just follow the sound, that line of sound drawn in my mind by the waves on the shore. And then, the other day I was just walking under the pine trees on the property. We have like 1,300 feet of shoreline. And again, the wind's blowing and I'm under the trees, but I'm just following in my mind that sound of the waves rolling up on the shore beside me as my indicator, and I'm just walking and walking and walking, just, having a beautiful stroll. Dogs are running. I'm not even, I don't care. I'll find my way back as long as the wind doesn't drop off.
I hear you.
Yeah.
And it was extremely windy up where we were on the Friday at Matog. I'm not sure what it was like down here, but I would imagine it was pretty windy as well.
Storms were rolling through.
I bet.
Storms are rolling through. Yeah, for sure. Lots of small storm cells were just popping through,
And during Jay's segment, we're going to talk about the current state of all the runs on the North Shore of Lake Ontario, because there's been some incredible footage that's been shared recently. But Jay's going to help us understand what may have happened to cause that, because it wasn't exactly like we got a lot of rain up where we were, but you guys didn't get much down here this past weekend, correct?
No, it wasn't so much down like in Ottawa, but I'm 2.5 hours north of Ottawa, right. and we got a one dump, but that's it. That's it. Enough to put a big bow into the boat cover, that's for sure. But just the one. It fine. We needed it though. Things were so dry up there.
100%.
There's been a fire ban up there for a month now, and it's nice to see a little bit of moisture coming in.
100%. So you have an interesting topic that we're going to be talking about tonight, and obviously with the state of the current state, I should say, of our boat industry when it comes to pricing, availability, the flood of used boats on the market. Maybe folks are looking for a more reasonable option. We're going to talk about something tonight that will help folks make that decision on perhaps what direction they want to go.
Yeah, I think, people, lots of people are thinking, well, do I want to update my boat? And then they look around and they see the prices and they go, wow, and then they see what the prices are, the used boats are selling for. And you're thinking, I saw that boat brand new for sale for 5 years ago for the same price, right? Yeah. I mean, people are trying to get, the same price they paid for the boats 5 years later, and maybe they're getting it. I have no idea, but that's what they're asking. They're a little bit high, the new boat prices and used boat prices, but I don't really want to get into that so much as I'm thinking, when do you go to the other end? When do you really want to embrace self-propelled watercraft, right? I'm talking canoes and kayaks specifically, not so much paddle boards. I don't know anyone who's fishing off a paddle board, but I know, fishing off a canoe and fishing from kayaks and even, small rowboats, and drift boats and things like that. That's pretty popular, right? So when do you take that? When do you move in that direction? When are you going to go into that self-propelled sort of small portable boat direction. And what is it? Are you going to look for? Like, what are people looking for in these types of boats?
So it's interesting. It's interesting you asked that. I think traditionally we've always sort of looked at rowboats and canoes and then kayaks as a means of not being self-propelled. They would be human propelled. A kayak was always something that you got in and you had a paddle and you did your thing. Now you're getting on them as opposed to in them because you're now sitting above them. And with technology absolutely going wild in the fishing industry, with live scope and everything else, you see the amount of options to propel your kayak. And I would have to say, hands down, I don't think anybody would argue this point. Kayaks right now are leagues ahead of any other sails, in my opinion, when it comes to watercraft. They're being bought up, they're being pimped out, and they're getting a lot of accessories that are being made available for these things. So what used to be just strictly a paddle, now you've got pedal drive and these electric motors. Not to mention, the Minn Kotas and the Garmins and what of the world. Now we have trolling motors on these things. So these flotillas are becoming almost better set up than basic runabouts.
Oh yeah, and twice the prices of a 14-foot aluminum, right? With a tiller. Yeah, and I think when you get a kayak, quote unquote, that needs its own boat trailer, and you back it in at a boat launch, is it a kayak? I mean, we can get into that debate if you want, but those are pretty expensive boats. That's a choice. It's a financial. If you want to buy that, if that's the way you want to go, more power to you. And you see that in the fishing kayak tournament series. You see a whole range now of these big, fully equipped boats with fish finders and electric motors, coming in on trailers, and you still see the human propelled, kayaks with stripped down, bare nothing, a paddle, a couple rod holders and a place to put your tackle. And you see those that are competing right alongside. It's kind of weird, right? It's like having a bass boat and a 14-foot aluminum tiller fishing in the same tournament together.
100%. Mark brings up an interesting fact here. He bought his 16-foot Legend with a 30 horsepower tiller, boat motor, trailer, taxes back in 2011.
Yeah.
Now, hang on to your hats here, Lords. He paid under $8,000 for that total package.
New.
Yeah, I don't know. I would imagine it was new. Yes.
Yeah.
I would imagine it was new.
Yeah. Probably that would be about the new price back then.
He priced the same package now, and it was $22,000 before taxes. So after taxes, it was $8,000 in 2011. Before taxes, it's more than doubled in price. That's insane.
Yeah. A decent 16-foot aluminum boat now, you're into $25,000-$30,000, right? With a 20 or 25 horsepower engine on it, a trailer, and a boat, no trolling motor, and just a good solid boat. But these are aluminum boats that go way beyond what I remember aluminum boats were. I remember aluminum boats, you take the motor off, take the oars out, two people can carry it, right? One on the bow, one on the back, and two people can carry it down and put it in the water, put the motor back on, and off you go. These boats are not those boats, right? These boats are 350-pound empty, and you're not carrying them anywhere, but they're good, solid boats. It's just something, stripped down maybe, but it's a like I said, $25,000 to $40,000 boat. It's there's still a lot of money. I think people, there's an interest in amongst people just to strip it right down and make it more affordable, maybe, but maybe it's not even a cash thing. Maybe it's just a lifestyle choice where they say, I just want to go back into those bays and nooks and get away from people, get away from the built world, get away from people, and get, into those areas where you look around and you listen and you don't see or smell or hear anything that's not natural.
It's interesting too, because when you meet people, and we've had the luxury of basically accompanying Kayak Bass Canada to a couple of their events so far. And even though it is a solo style of fishing, and as you said, you can isolate yourself and get away from everything, people and places and struggles, whatever. But those who have them, and we see Trevor, we see Jason Barnucz,
Mhm.
they're good people, and they're
Yeah.
very
Oh, yeah.
welcoming people. They're very warm and outgoing. Uh, I will say that about the kayak community as a whole, based on what I have seen and the folks that I have met. So even though they have solitude fishing on a kayak, nobody right now, in my opinion, in the industry is building community better than our kayak allies. And I think
Yeah.
it's an awesome industry. I think it's an even better community. And even though they have that solitude, because this is one of the other reasons too that maybe I was thinking of getting one, but I thought I like fishing with people. I don't want to fish by myself. And
Mhm.
I will say, based on what I have seen with some of the events that they hold, it is quite the contrary. They build community. They have a fun time together. And even though their fishing might be individual, it isn't for the entire course of the day. So I think it's cool.
Yeah, I took part in a number of kayak fishing tournaments over the years. There was one in particular. It was a 2-day tournament on the Rideau River, and we'd get 40, 50 people, boats, showing up for that. Prize money was pretty good, and like I said, it was a 2-day affair. But on the second day, by 10, 11 in the morning, it was a Saturday. You start on Friday, finish Saturday. On the Saturday, the river was full of big boats, big, and I'm talking big boats, right? Like
Yeah.
wake boats and things like that on the Rideau River. It's just remarkable the size of boats people run up and down that river, and it made it almost unfishable out of a kayak. When you got a 2 foot, 2.5 foot wake rolling at you, and three in a row, and every 10 minutes, that just gets annoying. It just gets annoying. You just want to go back and say, I'm done for the day. Thank you. I'm done. This is not, I'm not having fun anymore. And in this end of Ontario, there's lots of lakes that get a lot of boat pressure on the weekend, and it starts after brunch, right? And you see these boats come out to play. And so you got to get out early, really early to beat that, and or go fishing late. And it can be a little bit more dangerous. But then if that's the case, maybe you should be thinking about a canoe and getting into some gear, lightweight gear, where you and another person can take that canoe, go down a lake, portage, go into another lake, portage again, go into another lake, and no one's following you there with anything motorized. And then you've got, like I'm thinking Algonquin Park, there's a lot of opportunities like that. And then you're into some really unique fishing territory where you're encountering fish that maybe even haven't seen fishing lures. That's a different world.
You're 100% right. And that's the thing that I think is going to really help drive that industry even further to what it is right now, is the ease for getting into some of those back lakes, some of those untouched lakes. And let's be honest, there, as you just said, there's a bunch of lakes out there right now that I can think of off the top of my head that no fish have even seen a lure, let alone anything else. And there is a lot of untouched water in Ontario and across Canada for that matter. So again, kayaking, I see it sticking around for a very, very long time. I do not see it leaving anytime soon or just becoming a fad. It's not that. It's gone beyond that. And right now, I would like to say that the kayak industry is actually molding, or at least having more of a hand in the molding of technology than any other aspect, in my opinion, especially here in Canada. When you see, the motors, when you see the electronics, it's quite something. And the fact that you can deck out a kayak with just about everything you can put in a boat truly is something to be amazed at.
It's with the lithium batteries, the lightweight lithium batteries now, and it's incredible, right? It's incredible the things you can bring in and put on your boat. Now, if you're going on a 2 or 3 day trip off grid, a lot of that electronics becomes meaningless because, you got to you can bring batteries, backup batteries, and they're not cheap once you're into the lightweight lithiums. So, and then you think, well, do I really want to haul out stuff that, I can't carry this stuff that's not going to be any use to me halfway through my trip? Or do I just leave it behind now and say, okay, we're going to go old school? Another, option I've done is I've taken rafts down stretches of the Ottawa River to parts of the Ottawa River, and they're not that far from Ottawa, where you cannot get to those shores by land. It's private, or there's just no roads. Yeah. And it's private, or it's crown. There's just no roads. There's no way to get boats in there because you're talking about 3 or 4 sections of rapids to traverse before you get to these sections of the river. So no power boats are going to end up down there. And even for a canoe or kayak, you got to be pretty good to get something like that down these. The only way you can really go down there, unless you're a really skilled kayaker and you're in one of these closed kayaks, is in a raft. But once you're down there and you're in the raft, then fishing it's extraordinary.
100%. Mark Wolf brings up something too that you'll appreciate. Ever hear of a porta boat, Royce? It's a folding boat. The one I have folds up like a paddleboard, but unfolds the equivalent of a 14-foot aluminum boat. It only weighs 95 pounds and can take a 10 horsepower motor. I have a 7.5 Merc outboard on it. I strap it to the roof of my racks on my truck, and it takes 15 minutes to put together. So that is a really awesome option.
Oh, yeah. I got one. I had my first porta boat in 2006. They've been making them for longer than that. And they're made in California. They have a flat back, a flat transom. A transom board pops in there. Like I have a 12-footer, 3 seats, and I can put up to a 6 horsepower on mine. I just run it with an electric or just the oars. Quite often, just the oars. And but definitely with an electric and a lithium motor now, it's beautiful. You can carry the motor in one hand, the battery in the other hand. Your balance, you got maybe 30 pounds in each hand, and the boat itself, like my 12-footer weighs 69 pounds. And Jeez. I got the porta boat wheels that pop on the back corners. So you can just basically lift it up at the bow and just roll it behind you like a shopping cart, and just roll it down and to wherever you want to go, pop it in the water, pop the wheels off, throw them under the seat, bolt your motor on, and you throw your battery in there. And the nice thing about these porta boats is they have flat bottoms and the sides come straight up. They have a bow. They have a bow, but for little kids, the sides are 24 inches high. And the bottom is 48 inches wide.
Yeah.
And for smaller children, they can stand right up against the gunnel and fish, straight down below the boat, and they're not going to fall in. It's very comfortable to walk around in. The bottom is a little bit squishy, but once you get used to it, you realize they don't rock. They don't rock back and forth like a regular aluminum boat. They sort of suction onto the surface of the water. They're incredible boats. The Japanese Coast Guard uses them for rescue.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's fast. Well,
yeah.
I didn't even know that. Mark says he uses it for exactly the reasons we're describing. It gets into those remote lakes, and as Erica has mentioned, there's probably a few record fish back in those remote lakes that we're unaware of. But you think about it, the amount of water that is available to us folks in Canada, and I would say maybe what would I be wrong to say about 10% of it is fished hard, and the rest is virtually untouched, or do you think it's higher?
I'm told that between the North Shore of Huron over to Superior and Sault Ste. Marie, just anything north of the Trans-Canada within a kilometer is unfished. It's just, and there's just lake after lake after lake after lake after lake, and none of it's being fished because they're between communities. No one's stopping on the side of the highway. That's the only road that goes near these bodies of water, and you can look over from the road and see them over there, or just get a Google map and you can see where they are, and they're not fished. They are going unfished, and they're within a kilometer of the highway. So
I would have to say that I'm probably not alone. I'll give you an example. My drive up to Matagami, I see so much fishable water on that drive up. And I know that I'm not alone, but one of these days I would love to be able to stop at every one of these little puddles, these little lakes, these little waterways that are at the side of the highway, just pull off into wherever, somewhere safe, and just cast a line, because I'm sure everybody has thought about it. I don't know how many people have actually done it, but it would be really, really cool to spend a day or two driving up some of these highways and just stopping at the local, culvert, the local puddle, whatever. And it'd be interesting to see what kind of fish we could catch.
Pop your porter boat off, pop your canoe off your rack, carry it over to the shore, pop it in with your buddy, your partner or whatever, and just paddle off and do a day of fishing, right? And it's extraordinary. We've had some special trailers made. They're 60 inches wide, and each one can hold 6 kayaks or 6 canoes. They're like little trees. They're long, but you can tow them behind a 4-wheeler or a side-by-side. These are made to fit behind a side-by-side, and you can tow them down side-by-side trails, and then you get you a good part of the way to that first lake, right? That's accessible by the side-by-side, and then if you want, to take it to the next lake, you can park it and then just take it and portage in to the next lake, the second lake, and you're into fishing territory. A friend of mine, he did this, and he caught a 44-inch pike. That's not bad. That's not bad.
Is his name Steve Shaw? Because Steve just shared with us, I managed my PB pike doing that very thing right off a highway.
Yeah.
That's so cool. That is so cool.
It's amazing. We're missing out. We want the comforts, and I'm definitely, I've been lucky to be sponsored by Ranger Boats since 2012, and I've had a brand new boat ever since. And this year I decided to stop that. I sold my last Ranger, and I didn't take a new one. I took my money out of the game, and I said, that's it, I'm done. And I was sad. I had a beautiful 1880 angler, multi-species with a 175 Merc on the back. It was a perfect boat. I said it was a perfect boat, but you know what? It was beautiful fiberglass. And I said, there's no way I'm taking this thing down any gravel roads ever. I need to sell it. It needs to be sold, and it has to be returned in sellable condition. It can't be full of stone chips. So
this is the thing, and we're digressing back into the boat industry, but you see the level of care that some boat owners go to with all the shielding. There was one particular boat that was up in Matagami this weekend. It was a beautiful, beautiful skeeter, like gorgeous skeeter boat. Fiberglass. I think it had a 300 horse on it, deck to the nines. But he had the skirting along the frame of the trailer.
Yeah, the netting. It's amazing, right? Yeah,
it's incredible to the extent that you can go to protect your investment. And then all of a sudden, on a day like that we showed with all the wind and the rain, it gets bounced up against the dock, a little bit of dock rash, and it's all for naught. So I feel bad for those folks that do have those situations where they're going above and beyond to try and protect their investment, and then something simple is just trying to dock up against a dock, and
well, or a wheel, a rock comes off the wheel, hits the hitch, bounces on the ground, and then bounces back up and hits the bottom of the boat. Right? There's a reason why they don't paint the bottom of aluminum boats. It's because that's where the rocks are bouncing off of. Yeah. Even with all the rock guards, you can imagine they're still going to hit the bottom of the boat. With a fiberglass, the whole thing is painted, and it might be a different color. It's always a different color, but it's still painted, and it's still fiberglass, and fiberglass is fiberglass. I mean, it's fixable. It's always fixable, but it's not cheap. And like someone told me, you hit a rock, you go in in a lake, a remote lake with an aluminum boat, and you bounce off a rock, you got a dent for life. Yeah. You bounce off a rock with a fiberglass boat, you got a hole in your boat, and now you're thinking, how am I going to get back to shore? How am I going to get back to the boat launch? Because that's not necessarily going to happen.
Nope, true enough. Well, a great subject. Hopefully we've spawned a little bit of interaction and thought process for those who are perhaps thinking about buying a kayak. Maybe you're thinking about getting a canoe, maybe a small aluminum like rowboat.
Inflatables now, man. All these crazy inflatables.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of inflatables.
Yeah.
But has a lot more to do with my stature than it does the actual fact that we're inflating something with air and it could possibly pop. I don't find them as stable as most, but again, most aren't carrying around with
technology, the inflatable technology now, Scotty, it's like a surfboard. It's like a fiberglass surfboard. Once it's, you've seen these inflatable paddle boards with the way they make all sorts of craft now out of this inflatable technology. It's just remarkable, absolutely remarkable.
It is, and hopefully the technology advances so that they're a lot less impenetrable.
Yeah,
a lot more durable than some are right now. But I think it is definitely an option.
Yeah.
And of course, they have gadgets. The good folks over at Milwaukee have just about everything under the sun that's battery powered, and the pumps that they have, it makes these inflatables that much easier to own and inflate and use. So
yeah,
it is definitely an option. Inflatables is definitely an option.
Yeah, they're light. They're just the weight of them is if you have to carry it into an inflatable kayak. First of all, it's easy to carry in your truck or your trailer.
Yeah.
And then when you blow it up, one person can carry it under one arm. It's super light. They're brilliant boats. They're brilliant boats. But you're right. I don't think the hooks are so much an issue. Hooks aren't going to penetrate these things. Right. It's the sharp rocks, glass, weird things left on the shore. You got to lift them into the water and then get in it. Yeah.
What else is going on at Bluefish Canada and Bluefish Radio World?
Well, we got a bunch of podcasts coming up. Recorded. I just got to get my butt into the production chair and do some editing now. Got some amazing people, some amazing episodes coming up. I just wrote an editorial, so the news will be out this week. So yeah, that's been a bit of a drought, but it's coming out this week. I just heard from my friend, Dr. Chris Harvey Clark out Dalhousie University, Director of Animal Research. He's just retired after 40 years, and what an amazing. So he's going to be a guest. We're going to interview him next week. We'll get that podcast out soon. So it's lots of social media coming your way, you guys. So hang on
to your hats. Right on, Lawrence. Well, as always, my friend, we cherish our time with you, and we look forward to it each and every week. And we thank you for coming here every Monday as you do, because our community is a lot better place because of it.
Well, thank you for the feedback, you guys. My editorial's on human-powered, paddlecraft, and the comments that you guys shared, and it's been really helpful. Thank you, Scotty.
Right on, dude. Well, you have yourself a great week. We will be back here again on Monday next week, just before I leave for Spanish. Look forward to it. And if you guys have any questions or topics that you want Lawrence and I to discuss, by all means, reach out and give us the feedback that Lawrence and I are looking forward to.
Right on.
Okay, dude. You take care of yourself. Have a great week, my friend.
Thanks, man. Hope it slows down a bit for you.
Yeah, no kidding. All right, we got Jay Barnucz coming up right after a word from his sponsor.
The fear of failure is failure itself. The world of science rewards the ones who are willing to try and fail. Because without the courage to embrace failure, ideas remain ideas. But with that courage to fail and to learn, ideas can change the world.
Yes, they can. And this man right here has done a great job of that already. Jay Barnucz, it's always a pleasure to have you joining us as you do each and every Monday, especially talk about busy. You are one busy individual as well. What were you busy up to this weekend?
Oh, geez. This past weekend, you know what? I actually didn't do a whole lot, Scotty. I'm not going to lie.
Nice. Hey, fantastic.
Yeah, we got fishing coming up this weekend. This week, I'm in the field working. I prepped I prepped boats today. I prepped nets today. And with this time of year, a lot of our summer staff have gone back to school, and so I've been working solo all day today at the yard. But dude, you know what, man? It still felt like summer today, and I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, being in the office, it's not the best, but when you're outside all day tinkering with boats and trailers and trucks and loading nets and buckets and waders and all that kind of good stuff, I don't mind that. I put the earbuds in, man, and I just work away outside loading and stuff, and it gets me back to my roots, man. I've been doing this job for so long that I kind of enjoy days where I'm out. You know, we keep all of our gear in modified storage, like, you know, shipping containers, but they all got roll-up doors and nice windows and stuff now. So you just park the truck out front of the shipping containers, open up the doors, get out the gas cans, all the safety gear for the boats and the paddles and the boat hooks and the anchors, the ropes, all that stuff. Make sure the flares haven't expired. Kind of stuff that anglers should do more often. Check that kind of stuff. But, you know, we got to check that pretty regularly, because if something happens, we got to be prepared. And if you're not prepared and something happens, you're going to get, I always tell all the staff, always have your script ready. You know what I mean? So if something goes wrong, and stuff does go wrong, have your script ready to explain what happened, right? To the health and safety folks. So, yeah. But anyways, yeah, it was a good day. Like, you know, dude, charging, make sure the batteries are charged, just all that kind of stuff. I haven't been out in a boat this summer. Most of my work was in streams with waders on. So the waders, I bought a brand new pair of Gore-Tex waders this spring at work. And I'll be honest, I will put in one season wear and tear on waders that probably the average person takes them years to put on one season. But my waders, and they're still holding out strong, so they're good. It's been yeah, dude, it's been a good summer. It's been busy with work, and I talked to you pre-show about the drought. Like, the drought has been hard on lots of things, but for me, it's kept me busy because we had one day where a thunderstorm came in for 1 hour, probably 2 months ago, and we had to so when protocol for thunderstorms is, for those that wonder, so we were out in the river, and if you hear thunder, we have to stop working, and we wait 30 minutes. Now, during that time, I will check the radar, and, you know, with all the weather apps, man, I can see which way the blob's moving, right? So, and that particular day, it was just south of us. I knew it wasn't going to last long, but we couldn't work. So we loaded in the truck to get out of the rain. And we had to hike back up the hill, get in the truck. I took the crew to Tim's, got a coffee, used a washroom like civilized people, because we usually don't get washrooms because we're not civilized. And by the time we drove to Tim's, 20 minutes away, got our coffee, went to the washroom, turned around, drove back to the site. Storm was gone, and that was it. And then one day last week, we got that rain on Friday. Was it Friday? Yeah, it was Friday.
Yeah,
I'll talk about it.
Yep.
And that was the day I was supposed to do everything I did today. But I'm like, I can't work outside in the rain. I'm not a fair weather guy, but I can't pack gear and all of that stuff, pouring rain, and everything's going to get just trashed. So,
Yep.
Yeah. So that's what I've been up to, man. And this week I'm going to the Grand River, north of Guelph for a couple of days. I'm going to be down in Lake Erie Marshes for a couple of days. So, yeah, I got a really busy week ahead of me at work. So, yeah, just dude.
Good for you. So,
Yeah.
Speaking about weather, of course,
Yeah.
I shared this during Lawrence's, or before Lawrence's segment in the beginning, and this was what we were facing up in Matagami on Friday. And I want to say it pretty much did this all day. This was the heaviest band of rain that came through during the tournament. Made things awfully ugly and difficult for our anglers. But needless to say, you guys didn't get that rain like we did. And what I find so odd, and Jay, I'm hoping that you're going to be able to explain it to us tonight, but I'm seeing, and this is incredible footage. This is Bowmanville Creek. This is Droneswick Drones that took this shot. Absolutely incredible content, incredible footage. But look at all the fish. Like what created this run? Because it certainly wasn't rain from what I can gather.
Well, let me show you. So, because you asked me pre-show, how did this happen, right? So I'm gonna put a link in the chat. Okay, so I use an app called River App, and I'm gonna share my screen. And I do this all the time. We're at work. So this is the Ganaraska River, and this is above Port Hope. Okay, so in the app the River app that I use, it actually takes all the Environment Canada stream gauge data for all of the stream gauges in Canada. And what I do is I can actually create favorites. See the little heart there? This is a screenshot, so this isn't the app itself. But you can go in and set it up for all your favorites. And for someone like myself, both at work and at play, I'm always on the water. And this River app, now I have the paid version. It's not that much. I think it's $30 a year.
Yeah, you mentioned that. It seems very reasonable.
It's very reasonable. So this is, now I wasn't aware that the Ganny got all this rain, but here's what happened. So you can see my hand here and my cursor. So right before, and I like to talk in cubic meters per second. So some of these apps will use in stage height or meters, but it's not always depth of water. Okay, it's called stage height. But I like to use in flow in meters per second. So that's volume of water. So we think of it like a pipe. Okay.
Yep.
So the diameter of the pipe on this would have been on September 3rd. Yeah, September 3rd, right here was about 2 CMS. Okay. And then you can see here where the rain came and it left. And then this is the fallout. Then another storm came and it left. And then the big one came. And this is the Ganny. Okay. And this is only a few kilometers above Port Hope. So the pipe itself went from just under 2 CMS in 48 hours. It jumped up to 4.5 CMS. So the pipe went from this to almost 3 times the water coming through it. Now, once the pipe drained, here it's coming off now, and this is what brought those fish in. I'm going to guarantee that's what brought those fish in. That pulse of water. This isn't a big pulse of water for the Ganny. In fact, quite often this time of year, you'll see flows upwards of 10, 15, 20, 30 CMS after a big rain. But everything's so dry that even after a good rainfall, the water table, the land itself is so dry, it's going to soak it up first. And we won't see a lot of that extra runoff until the land itself soaks up the water. Does that make sense, Scotty?
Makes perfect sense.
And we see that down here a lot in the September, October period. I noticed that a lot of the anglers are dying to get out steelheading, and we just don't have enough rain. Now we've had rain. We might get an inch or two of rain, but if the ground is really dry, because we're in these base flow conditions, all the water table has to recharge. Everything has to recharge first before you're going to see that big pulse of water.
Right.
And then, but once everything gets saturated in the fall, then we start to see those fall rains tick that. This discharge here will slowly tick upwards as we get more rain through the fall.
Right.
But that's all it took. Now, we also talked about, there's a couple other things that work here. It is September. The fish are staging. We know that. We've seen guys catching salmon off the pier. They've probably been staging for about, I'm going to say at least 2 weeks. I was talking to Mark Penner today at Grimsby Tackle. He was actually going out tonight to do a little trolling and even a little casting down at Port Dalhousie. So the fish have been staging for a couple of weeks, and they've been hanging on those river mouths. And then this past weekend, we had that big part of this rain event was also a big gale, right? We had a big windstorm, winds on Thursday and Friday, and that really pushed the water around. And so I actually talked to some buddies who are charter captains on Lake Ontario, and they talked about an inversion, which causes the warm water to go out and the cool water to come in. And so you had a bit of a perfect storm. Even though we didn't get a lot of flow, you got some flow, you got cool water pushing in, and those salmon just took it as a chance to go. And once they're in the river, they will stay. Now, you can see here why we're seeing so many fish, because we actually can see them. Dude, we're right back down to that base flow, right? Like we're just below 2. We're probably just ticking above 2 CMS there. Everything's so dry, it just went right back down, but those fish came in during that pulse. And that's basically how that went down. You can see here, I'm going to show you one more slide. Let's see here. Just for entertainment's sake, because
we love entertainment.
Yeah. Okay. So here's the other one. This is Bowmanville. Okay. Bowmanville isn't as big of a pipe as the Ganney. Okay. The Ganney, where the station is set up, is at about 2 CMS before that storm.
Yeah.
Bowmanville is only at about 0.5. If anyone's been to Bowmanville, they know that it's a much smaller system than the Ganney.
Yep.
So its base flow is at about 0.5. There's the spike from the initial rainstorm, and it dropped quickly. And see, you can see here that the Bowmanville area probably didn't get quite as much rain, but it got the same storm. Also, another thing, the Ganaraska watershed is way bigger. It's a way bigger catch basin than Bowmanville. And so it doesn't have as big of a catch as Bowmanville does. But still, there was enough water here to get those fish to come up. And then we're back down to that base flow. But those fish have made it into the system. So there you go. That rain literally kickstarted our salmon season.
Well, what a season. Look at the number of fish in Bowmanville Creek. That's remarkable. Is that typical? Jay, I've never been down to Bowmanville to see this. Is it typical like this?
That's very typical. Very, very typical. Yeah. And now there's some years where that pulse of rain doesn't happen until late September, even into October. Like I can remember not getting big runs until closer to Thanksgiving, right? So, but it just tells you that by September, those fish are staging, they're ready to go, and that's the first cue they got. I don't see any rain in the forecast for the next while. So, those fish are in, they're there to stay. Now, those fish might not be able to get up the fishway very well, because if the water's not pumping out of that fish ladder, both at the Ganney and Bowmanville, they might have a hard time getting up. This is going to be a real test of the new regulations in Port Hope. This is just my opinion, because all those fish are there. And I know there's two sides to that this discussion, but there's been some complaints online this week about the smell already. But these fish will die after they spawn, and I think that the decision was made to protect that fishery, and it's a little of a shame for anglers, but we got to give things time to kind of show their colors and see what works and what doesn't work. And I'm hoping that these fish will get a chance to spawn, get up that ladder. And I know there's been some chats, and I've seen you participate in some, where we're seeing more and more natural reproduction happening. We'll never replace the stocking that goes on. The stocking is still the big driver, but there's lots of natural reproduction going on with salmonids, Chinooks, and cohos in these systems. So,
well, I have to say, Jay, when you look at this footage, like, to me, this is just one water body. You mentioned the Ganney. There's so many others. But this is Bowmanville, and to your point, you're starting to see some dead carcasses over there on the concrete and what have you. When these fish do, if they don't get up the fish ladder, if they end up dying here at this pond, I can only imagine what that's going to smell like. And I dare say it won't be pleasant for those who live close to it. Yeah,
I do hope that I don't want to see too many stories. I've already seen a few stories popping up, about people angling in the way they shouldn't angle. But anyways,
that's very diplomatic of you, Jay.
you know what though? if people haven't been to these places to see this happening, this is a great time to go. Take your camera, take your phone, and take your family and go check out these fish, man. Honestly, it is worth the drive to check these places out. I want to give a shout out actually. So in the chat is a Skylar Fisk. Skylar, I'm going to share a link in the chat. Skylar is the owner of Erie Creek and Tackle in Tillsonburg.
Oh,
and
cool.
Skylar's a buddy of mine. He opened a shop there a few years ago. He tailors to all the local fishing that goes on here, and especially steelhead and salmon in the local rivers. And also a lot of walleye anglers are going, like when you drive down to Burwell, a lot of anglers go right through Tillsonburg. So he's right on the way.
Oh,
and a
cool.
big shout to Skylar. And actually not just if you're in Tillsonburg, he has an awesome online store. And even living in Delhi, which is 15 minutes from his shop, I still use it sometimes because I see he's got what I need and I'm going to go get it. So shout out to Skylar, man. And I know the CFN loves to promote local shops.
100%.
And big shout out to Skylar for basically, and Skylar's a great source of information, great networking with Skylar if you want to find out what's going on locally with the fisheries. So yeah. So
awesome stuff, Jay, as always. I know we've talked about this at verbatim, Jay, but an observation was made this weekend when it comes to forward-facing sonar. The good folks up at Matagami, they decided to implement a pro division and an amateur division, and the amateur division was classed as not using forward-facing sonar, whereas the pro division was using forward-facing sonar.
Yeah.
The results were very, very intriguing because after day one, the top bag that came in was around 10 pounds. I want to say it was like 10.04. The Jinkersons brought that in. The top bag in the pro division was double that. It was 20 pounds and 20.0 whatever. So when you see that, you obviously right away see that forward-facing sonar is making a difference. Whether we want to embrace it or shun it or not talk about it, the results are in the pudding. You see it. But the amateur division actually had more boats than the pro division. So I'm beginning to wonder if the industry as a whole, because we have now saw the announcement that Bass came out with, Bassmaster came out with.
Yep.
I'm not sure. I haven't looked at all the details because I've been busy, but I've heard there's a coin flip involved. There's potentially that, some bodies of water are going to have it. Some bodies of water aren't going to have it. But it's that teetering right now. What are we going to do about forward-facing sonar? Based on what I saw this weekend, it is definitely a discussion that needs to be had at a much higher level than here, because I think there's an outcry from certain people that are saying it's really hurting our industry. It's really hurting tournaments. And then again, we have CISA, where every boat had it, and there was no complaints about, like, it's just there's becoming such a divided line when it comes to this technology, and I don't know. I don't have an answer. I don't have a dog in the fight, but I certainly listen to both sides. I'd love to hear your take.
Well, I'm going to share my screen first. We'll talk about what Bass did, and then we can talk about maybe my opinion on this and a few other things. So this is a screenshot of the Bass website. So this is the 2026 Bassmaster Elite schedule, and these lakes were already picked. These lakes were picked a while ago, and I'm sure you can appreciate, especially what you've been doing this year, how long it takes to put these events together, right?
Amen.
We're talking 18 months to 2 years for some of these events to come to fruition.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's not so bad at some of these locations like the Tennessee River in Knoxville and maybe Lake Murray, South Carolina, where they've had lots of events like this before. But, some of these places are new and we're not sure, not new. They've always had tournaments there, but not in recent years. Like Arkansas River's one. The Pasquotank River was last year, which is a new spot. So I'm glad they're going back there because that was an interesting tournament. So what Bass did this year, and I don't know if this is good or bad, and they did this to kind of keep things, I'm going to say, fair. And they took all of their tournaments and put them together, basically matched them up. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And they literally did an online coin flip, which, tournament location 1 gets forward-facing sonar or location 2. And this was the result of the coin flip. These are the ones with the FFS beside that will get forward-facing sonar. And versus MLF, which allows forward-facing sonar, but they do it in periods like hockey. There's 3 periods in the event, and you have to pick which period you can use your forward-facing sonar, which I thought was actually a pretty cool idea. And then when you're not using it, they have a special cover that goes over it that you can't, so you don't have to take it off your boat, but there's no way you can use it with the cover on.
Mm-hmm.
And they have marshals in the boat to make sure that happens, right? The MLF has scrutineers in the boat to make sure that does happen. So that's a good way of doing it. This is what Bass chose. And I don't know if I like this or not. And this isn't me saying, am I pro forward-facing sonar or not? I'm just not sure if this is the way. To quote one of the podcasters this week, there's already so many variables in fishing that we can't control, and now we're deciding things on a coin flip, And I'm not sure how it sits with me. So we're going to see how this plays out. Like, I think some of these rivers or these locations, most of them are rivers, I think a lot of them were like a good mix of Arkansas River was going to be a shallow water fishery. I know that the Pasquotank was shallow water fishery, so some of these Santee Cooper, a lot of these lakes are going to be very much not forward-facing sonar friendly, but then other ones like Lake Martin, Lake Guntersville, the St. Lawrence, obviously, very, very forward-facing sonar friendly. And so I'm curious how I was actually kind of hoping that the St. Lawrence was going to be no forward-facing sonar, just to see how that went out. You know what I mean, Scotty? Like,
yeah.
Look at the smallmouth anglers and how much they rely on forward-facing sonar. I'm not saying they needed to catch fish, but it would be an interesting twist to see that place without forward-facing sonar. It would be. So
Steve put something in the comments here. I didn't realize this. I'm learning along with all you folks. If you are following the latest updates from Bass, but they will not be able to use them during practice.
Yes.
Now this is interesting. At the end of the day, we had a discussion up at Matagami, excuse me, with actually quite a few anglers, and it was I guess it was what I felt. Going forward, if in fact a decision is made that is drastic enough to eliminate forward-facing sonar from tournament play, I could honestly see tournaments going down the road of saying, listen, before the tournament, during pre-fish, and pre-fish is only going to last 2 days now, or it's going to be a designated period of time, you can use whatever the heck you want. I don't care if it's underwater cameras, underwater drones, forward-facing sonar, this, that, and everything else. But come tournament day, all that stuff is shut off. To what extent, I don't know. But I kind of get the sense that we might be going down that road. Do you agree, Jay, or no?
Yeah, I was thinking about that. In another interview that I was listening to was talking about how, we can use underwater cameras during practice, right? And we see a lot of anglers using that. Gussie's always using his AquaView during practice, and it's great. You can look when you get now. Just hanging an AquaView in the water is not easy. Like, to be able to line it up with your drift to show those big smallmouth. Like, the field of view on these things is not that far. Like, it takes there's a skill to it. The fact that they can and the fact that you're using it in practice, you're giving up some practice time to use a camera. A camera takes a lot of work to use it properly, but it's allowed in practice, and it's not allowed in the tournament, though. So I'm curious if that will happen, Scotty. If we're going to see with some of the high level tournaments, where forward-facing sonar will not be allowed during practice, or sorry, during the tournament itself, or alternate the days. Like, there's ways, but I almost think to make it kind of straightforward is just to not use it during the tournament, but use it during practice. Find your fish, check your spots with it. A lot of anglers now, like last year, anglers had them mounted on the transoms, right?
Yep.
And they were driving down the lake just like side scan, but scanning with forward-facing sonar out to the sides while they're idling and seeing fish. And, so that's great. That's a great way to eliminate water, cover water, find fish. But once you find them, then, and then during the tournament, you should maybe not use it. Maybe that, and I'm not saying I'm against it. I'm trying to find a way here to navigate how we should deal with this technology, right? So
I would hazard a guess to a certain extent, and there'd be some anglers that say, well, you're not exactly right, Scotty, but it is a good point you bring up. Yes, we are able to see fish that we've not been able to see before. It has certainly opened our eyes to what's going on, below the boat. But what I heard this past weekend at Matog, and I also saw it with my own eyes at the CSA event, is how long anglers are chasing fish when they use the term boxing fish. And the reason is they're looking at their live scope, they're feathering whatever presentation it is, and they're just constantly trying to put it in the face of the fish so that they'll just simply turn around and gulp it. I don't believe with 2D sonar or anything previous to forward-facing sonar that you would see an angler spend as much time targeting a fish. And it almost is to their detriment, because by the time they either catch it or the fish swims away, 45 minutes has gone by. And I don't know if, as efficient as these forward-facing sonar units are, I don't know if in this case it's doing the anglers any benefit.
It makes me think about like steelhead in rivers, and like Scotty, you've been out there, like especially Ganaraska in the spring, right? You can have a pool of rainbows, and you can see them. Like it's almost like they're suspended in the air. Like the water's clear, the water's low. A lot of them are drop backs, and they're all sitting there. And you can actually like drift your presentation through the school, and you have this like a little fly or a little single egg, and you'll see the fish, and then they'll see your presentation, and they'll go like this, and they just go right back, right? And it makes me think about how anglers will spend so much time trying to catch a fish because they can see it. And I think that's what we're seeing with forward-facing sonar is anglers are getting caught up in chasing down these fish or boxing these fish when those fish are not interested. We've all done it. We've all been fishing and we've seen a fish. I don't care whether it's a trout or a walleye or a largemouth. We've seen it. We've tried catching it, and it is not interested. And once in a while you can force feed it, but normally they're not interested. And anglers do waste a lot of time chasing fish now with forward-facing sonar. And it's up to the anglers now, and we talked about this on the last show about understanding fish behavior and being able to interpret, is that fish interested or not interested in your bait by how it's reacting to your bait.
Yeah.
And I think this is all part of the learning curve with forward-facing sonar. So I don't know, man. We could just write a book on this. I think by the time.
Well, it's funny because it is talked about a lot, especially for those who are on the tournament trail. And it is, as I forget this gentleman's name, forgive me for this, but great topic of conversation. And of course, the question always seems to come to a head. Are the anglers that are dominating with forward-facing sonar still going to dominate without it? And some will say yes, half the room will say yes, half the room will say no. I don't know. I'd say the jury's out, and the only way that we could possibly test that is by removing it from those that do dominate.
The real issue, George drops it here. We can talk about all the fishing we want, all the fun it is, but what is the impact on harvest and catch and release with forward-facing sonar? And we don't know that yet. The science is still. It's not. I'm not going to say. it's hard for science to be conclusive because there's always variables to consider with every study that goes on. I don't care what you're studying, but we are not the industry, the scientific industry has to catch up, right? How we're evaluating this technology and how we're assessing it and understanding the true impact of this technology. We hear stories about, like, think about how easy it is to catch, like, geez, man, salmon in a harbor with forward-facing sonar, or muskies. We've heard all these kind of, I'm going to say, horror stories about muskies, where muskie anglers now can target muskies with forward-facing sonar. They're giant. You can see them like big submarines coming at you, right? So, and I'm not saying they're going to bite, but there's nowhere to hide for some of these larger species, right? And then what affects the larger species? A lot of the larger fish are long-lived, and we have to manage those fish carefully because they live a long time potentially, like muskies, and they're the top predators. They're not as abundant as bass, let's say. So we already have strict regulations to manage muskies, but maybe we need to revisit that if data comes back. So yeah, we're not out of this yet. It's we talk about adaptive management, and I'm sure George will laugh at this one, but it's a coined phrase that's often used, where we make a management decision and then we actually watch that management decision to see what was the result of that decision, and then we adapt to it, where we say, okay, let's modify that. And we could talk about basically like going from no limits to limits, going from no limits to limits to slots. That's all adaptive management, right? We're adapting to what we're seeing with the fishery. And I think that with forward-facing sonar, we should be looking at adaptive management. But where's our starting point? We're not there yet. Like, we don't have a good starting point. We have educated guesses about what the starting point is, but we don't have a lot of good science on it yet. And there's people out there working on it. I promise they are, but these things take years to develop. Unfortunately, the industry is moving faster than we want it to.
100%. And I would say, if there is a species of fish or a community at large that have the impact in terms of their like or dislike with forward-facing sonar, I have to say, I have to tip my hat to the muskie community. We're already starting to see it being frowned upon in lakes down in the U.S., especially in Minnesota, Lake of the Woods. There's some areas that they frown upon it to the point where they're almost saying you can't use it. And they're very concerned. The muskie lovers are very concerned about what forward-facing sonar is going to do to their species. And I would have to say, if there's a species out there right now that is probably the most susceptible to forward-facing sonar, it has to be the muskie, and they're fragile as it is. So what used to be a fish of 10,000 casts is not that anymore. And especially when you can start jigging for these things, look out.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think that's where we have to be proactive on the management side. And we need to really, but I guess with muskies though, how much stricter can we get? Like, you can only keep one. And for the most part, those aren't kept, right? Yeah. Like that's basically to protect anglers if there's a mortality, right? So there we go. So yeah, we're looking at the status of smallmouth bass in Ontario compared to the current season opening dates across the province. So there's an example of adaptive management. Like, look at what's that bass season opening on Nipissing on May long weekend, dude. That's pretty awesome. I gotta say, I enjoyed going up. Now, it was cold, dude. That trip was the May long weekend this year was cold. Like, it snowed while I was fishing for largemouth bass. I was doing the Big Jim wake bait in 2 to 3 feet of water, catching largemouth in the snow. Can you believe that? But I had such a blast doing it. Just next time, I'm bringing more warm socks. I'm going to bring I'm not one to wear those hot pockets, but those little hot pouches.
Yeah.
When you're in a kayak, I had boots, but your feet are so exposed to the elements because you're up on the pedals all day versus in a boat where your feet are down under the gunnels. I'm definitely wearing more warm clothes next year. But that's a pretty awesome thing. But it's great to hear that these are all being reviewed and they're constantly being discussed, because we want it. MNR is really interested in having good, healthy fisheries. not just healthy bass fisheries, healthy fisheries for all sport fish. There's value.
100%.
And,
Richard,
and I know that they're reviewing it, and that's great. Thanks, George, for that update. That's fantastic.
You bring up a great point, Richard. And I think of the Bay of Quinte, and most, I would say most charter captains, guides down in the Bay of Quinte, purposely will not target fish past 40 feet. That seems to be the threshold. And you do know that there's fish that are a little bit more cooperative, deeper, but you don't have the luxury of knowing that they're going to survive if you catch them. So I believe most charter captains adhere to that 40-foot rule. But still, barotrauma, it will still happen with a fish that's in 10, 13 feet of water.
Yeah.
So there's no guarantee. But you're right, Richard. When this is what happened, and I'll be specific because it happened in the NOWT. Somebody came up to me and said, Scott, forward-facing sonar allowed us to realize that we are literally driving over fish that are suspended in 80, 100 feet of water. And they're doing that, obviously, because they're targeting bait balls. They have to come up to those areas, but those fish were never seen before. So with forward-facing sonar, you have the luxury now of seeing fish in areas that you never thought they were. So hopefully, you're able to target these 30-inch plus walleye in shallower water, but not necessarily. And it's no different than the muskie. They become fragile fish because of how deep we're targeting them. So yeah, no, I appreciate you bringing that up, George, Richard. And I love this. Just starting to design a questionnaire for Muskies Canada members on the use of their opinions on forward-facing sonar. I love this forward-thinking approach, George. That's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, George, November smallmouth, it's definitely on the hit list because I know Trevor's birthday is on November the 4th, which is like prime smallmouth. And some of those small lakes up there, they are so, we got to be careful going on the water in November in a kayak, granted. But some of these small lakes up there are pretty small. They don't get blown out with big wind. Definitely thinking about doing a trip up there this fall. So I might even be doing a little scouting while I'm heading up to Spanish. Just saying. So, get my lay of the land. I haven't been up that way, Scotty, in a long time. So I'm going to get my lay of the land up there this year.
Well, I can honestly say I haven't been up there other than the one time that I met my good buddy Danny Bacon. But I will say this: you'll be overwhelmed at the facility, at the size of the property, and Jay, as our fish measure and all around fish care expert, I think you're going to be impressed at the size of walleye, the quality of walleye that are going to be brought to the weigh scale. But again, the other thing I want to mention too, we're hitting it at a great time because folks that know and are spending time on the water, the walleye are starting to come in. They're a little early. But they're starting to show up in areas that they should in October. So I think we're hitting this just at the right time. And I dare say bass might have their dirty 30. Well, the walleye community has a filthy 40, and we might see a 40-pound bag brought to the weigh scales.
That's very cool. Cool. Yeah, it's man, that's just a part of Ontario that I just don't get up too much anymore. And so I'm looking forward to seeing it. It's going to be great. And I just hearing you talk about all the vendors and all the familiar faces that are going to be up there, like it's going to be a little bit of a cool meetup of some great people, right? So
100%. Yeah, we're going to have a good time. There's a live band that we're going to have in there. We've got a food truck. We're going to put on as best of a show as we possibly can to make it fun for just about everybody. But Jay, I want to thank you for taking the time to not only join us as you do every Monday, but to come up and be that expert and making sure that all of the fish that do come to the weigh scale are properly looked after, and with all the hopes of the fish gods, they're returned successfly to their watery homes. So
yeah, man,
it's gonna be fun.
Okay.
All right, my friend. Well, listen, as always, thanks so much for your time. Jay, I know you've got a busy week coming up, so I'm going to let you get some rest tonight. But thanks, as always, dude, for everything you do for our community. It's truly appreciated.
My pleasure, buddy. We'll see ya.
Right on, dude. You take care of yourself. And with that, that is the end of our show. We will be here, Mike and I anyway, tomorrow for Tourney Tuesday. Looking forward to giving out some more incredible prizes to you CFN fish offers. And we look forward to our next event, our next fish off event. We're hoping to do one in the wintertime, but we're not sure if time will prevail. It's going to be a busy show season. And with all the announcements that are happening with the shows, it's going to be interesting to see where we can find a void for us to implement ours. But I know Brad is working very hard to put our calendar together, some of the new locations that we're going to have. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting, but it's going to be busy. So I'm not 100% sure if we're going to be able to do a fish off, but I'm really hoping, fingers crossed, that the Mother Nature and the winter allows us to have a meet and greet on the ice, because we missed it last year. I don't really want to miss it this year, but we'll see what happens. In the meantime, have yourselves a great week. Enjoy yourself. Get out fishing when you can. And most importantly, I can't thank you enough for all of your support here at CFN. It truly means the world. I love you all. You guys take care and have yourselves a fantastic week. All the best. Peace. Take us away, Dave.
Well, as much as I hate to admit it, I guess we've run out of time. So I've enjoyed it, but I'm going to do something I haven't done since season 1. Turn out the lights. The party's over. They say that all good things must end.